Gohan is one of the fan favorite characters in the series, and it comes to no surprise that people were not happy with what happened in Resurrection of F. Well, because simply they really screwed up his character. They took him every character progress that happened and they undid it. And some people have gone as far to say that actually ever since the Boo arc, he has taken he's taken a back seat. But I'm going to actually defend that side of Gohan. See, arguably speaking, he's the character that's been through the most in the series. Genuinely going through the most trauma, and it's understandable why he wouldn't want to fight. People often downplay it, saying, well, it doesn't align with his character. It doesn't have to, because frankly, if you look at his character, it makes more logical sense. And I will say that this idea does not align with how Dragon Ball works as a series, because, well, Dragon Ball often ignores logic for the sake of convenience and ignores realistic character development for the sake of melodrama. But I think if you apply the real world logic, it kind of explains his character a lot more. People rarely ever understand what it means that Gohan is not a fighter. They think, well, he should be a fighter. He was raised by fighters, he's been fighting since a young age. But we need to think about all the trauma he's had essentially throughout the years. When he was younger, he was 4 years old, sees his father die right in front of him. And then instead of getting, help, someone to, deal with this trauma, is immediately thrusted into the wilderness and told, hey, you gotta train. In 3 years, there's gonna be aliens that's gonna come to Earth. And they will destroy everything. And if you don't train properly, it's all your fault that everything is gonna get destroyed. And then obviously in the beginning, he doesn't want to train because it's like, the fuck, man? That ain't fair. But then eventually he kind of has to. He has no choice, he has to train. And that's what he does. He stops training, and when those aliens, aka the Saints, come along, it's probably the worst time of his whole life. He sees people get brutally killed right in front of him. A guy, blows up. Tien's arm gets cut off in half, gets cut in half. They're fighting brutally for their lives, and then she's there thinking, wow, what the hell's going on? And then after that, everyone dies, and then he has the decision, out of his own conscience, of seeing someone that he considered to be his best friend, Piccolo, to go to Namek to revive him. Getting there, he honestly goes through, near-death experience after near-death experience. Not to mention the already near-death experience he experienced with Vegeta in the prior arc. He has to frankly go ahead and fight characters who are, 10 times stronger than him. Raccoon, he was quite literally on the brink of death, about to die. But he still decided to fight to protect his friends. And then later on in the Cell arc, it's even worse because you can see that he has that instinct to help people when he sees Piccolo is going to die. But he's held back because he would have died himself. And he was Goku's, card essentially for the Cell games. But here's the problem that people don't understand with his characters. It's not just the fact that he didn't want to fight, he didn't like fighting, and he was a pacifist. I think that's pretty well laid out within the Cell arc itself. People don't understand this. What were his motivations actually going into the time chamber with Goku? He most certainly didn't go there because he wanted to go ahead and just fight and get better. He just wanted to spend, some time with his dad, who he never had a choice to spend time with. So, because, he's been absent for most of his life. So then he goes into the time chamber and he has a bonding experience with his father just for the Cell games to come around. And now suddenly he's again, the hope of the universe, and everything is thrust upon him. And if he fails, everyone depends on him. And of course that pressure gets to him. And he does end up failing for a lot of it. Because he's like, what the hell am I supposed to do? This guy can blow up a solar system. Right? And then he has to go through another traumatic experience to even be able to fight on the same level as him. And then, of course, later, years on, he says, you know what, I'm not really into fighting. Probably because of the trauma. But the conclusion of the Cell arc was that, well, you have to be willing to fight for something that you believe is right. And that was a big part of, Gohan's character, is him finally accepting the responsibility to fight. So when the Boo arc came around and then he was just like, you know what, I don't want the responsibility. People judged him, saying, well, a lot of fans judge him, saying, well, why doesn't he want to fight? He learned that responsibility. Why didn't he unlearn it? And why did he not train? My question is, why would he? For majority of his life at that point, he had, he had to fight against characters who were significantly stronger than him, who were like genuinely like a threat to his life and well-being for all of his life. And then suddenly he finally has a way out. He has a way to go ahead and say, you know what, no, I don't want to fight. And of course he takes it. Finally experience all the things he didn't growing up. He can finally be that child that he left, locked up for all those years. And then when it comes around to the Buu arc, the question is, why didn't he train? Why would he? Who's he gonna train with? He doesn't want to train with Piccolo because he doesn't enjoy fighting. Just because he accepts his fight doesn't mean he's gonna, automatically start to enjoy fighting. You could proactively, say it's selfish for him to just want to live his life, study and follow his dreams. Honestly, completely ignore how Gohan even got to that point. Because honestly, who's he gonna train with? Piccolo? He doesn't like fighting for starters. And Vegeta, why would he train with Vegeta? Sure, he would have been a lot stronger, but he probably doesn't want to relieve the childhood trauma that he had to go through Vegeta, where Vegeta tried to kill him several times, kicked him in the face in the Namek arc for quite literally no reason, just to be a dickhead. And then he can finally, do what he never did. He can finally enjoy life. Of course he's going to take that chance. He's going to take it like he can finally enjoy life. And then later on in the Buu arc, this all comes back to bite him, of course. And that was kind of the big lesson, but here's the thing with that lesson. Gohan accepts the responsibility when he, becomes a mantle of Great Saiyaman. Great parallel to Spider-Man there. But the problem is, he doesn't really accept it. He's just doing it because he believes it's the right thing to do. And so he's going to do it. But later on, when he has to fight, for example, Buu, he lets his arrogance, take over him, like he did with Cell. A lot of people call that character regression, but I think that's a natural progression of his character. Truth said, he repressed that side of him when he was younger, because he saw the danger he can do when he is in that state. His realization from the Cell games isn't, wow, I should protect the Earth. It is, I'm powerful, I have great power, I don't like fighting. And when I do fight, sometimes I could even cause danger to those around me. So of course he's going to say, no, I'm not going to fight. Because why would he? Why would he choose to fight and put everyone in danger for his own enjoyment? This is essentially why Goku had to become the main character of the show again, because, well, even though Gohan got power up, he never truly evolved, from that stage he was as a child. And when Akira Toriyama, makes someone stronger, he doesn't just do it for no reason. He does it for a reason. And even he saw that Gohan's power up was unearned. That's why Goku had to be the one to defeat Majin Buu, because if anyone had defeated him, if Gohan had defeated him, it would have shown, hey, you can just slack off, come off to training anytime, and then everything's going to be alright. When the real message is, well, sometimes you have to overlook your selfishness, your desires to do the right thing. And that's what Goku did, for example, Majin Buu, and with Frieza and with Cell. Goku is written from the beginning of the series as someone who wants to fight, but that has to occasionally put his own desires aside for the sake of what's right, for the sake of, protecting those around him, for the sake of doing the right thing instead of just following his selfish desire to become the strongest and fight stronger characters. And that's what he does. With Majin Buu, he has to accept that without his own power, he has to defeat everyone. And that's the biggest difference between him and Gohan, is that Gohan can't accept that. Gohan has to be either the protector or pacifist. Goku can be both, the one that wants to get stronger and the one that can save the world. And that's why Gohan became a side character for Dragon Ball Super and Resurrection F. Because the reality is, he didn't have the responsibility to go ahead and become the main character, to take that mantle like other characters did. And so for the rest of Super, he's kind of just in the background, and it is kind of underwhelming until the Tournament of Power arc. He finally, accepts that power and he starts to learn. But it still isn't enough for him to accept that he has to be powerful to protect. He has to accept that he has to keep training, and it isn't just about unearned power-ups. It's about actually understanding. Now, I do agree that the superhero film kind of treads very lightly on that point, because it doesn't really take that into consideration as much as it should. But I do think that at the end of the day, Gohan's character improved quite a bit within that film, because it's for him finally relearning the lesson that he did learn as a Super Saiyan 2, and him finally accepting that, he has to be Earth's protector, because he's finally had the time to, live and be, kind of a pacifist and live a life that doesn't include fighting now. So now he has to, step into the mantle of that role. Okay? And a lot of time people tend to compare him to Future Gohan to show him and ask, why isn't Future Gohan that powerful? And the reality is, Future Gohan is not as powerful as he is, probably for the same reason that's why he's not as powerful as he could have been. I want you to think about it this way. Future Gohan had the same trauma that Gohan did in the main timeline. But the difference is that with Future Gohan, he went ahead and he had to fight. And so being forced into fighting, into doing something he didn't like, and never really learning to enjoy, never really learning to become, as proficient as Goku through training or things like that, had a deep impact on him, psychological impact, because every day he was choosing to be selfless for the sake of others. And obviously that didn't work out for his character in the end. The reason that's why he never went Super Saiyan 2, but in our timeline he did, is because within our timeline he was able to accept that he has to fight. And in the future timeline he never had a choice. And so he always had to look out for someone else than himself, which caused him, honestly, a great amount of turmoil. And I think the comparison between Future and, the current timeline's Gohan is mainly because, Future Gohan could never learn to actually fight with Goku. He never had the opportunity to go into the time chamber to fight, to learn how to do right by his father and his dignity, even as much as he wanted to. And so he had to accept that, hey, this is what I can do, and I'm gonna fight. And because he had never had the lesson, never had the proficiency, he was stuck as this character all the time. I like to think that, for years he probably chose to stay at home rather than going out and fighting and, getting better at it, because he never had to. He never really had to step out of the limelight. He never had to overcome his internal struggle. He just had to brush it aside. So his power stagnated to the androids because, first of all, he just had to come to terms that, hey, what I want doesn't matter. Because what I want doesn't matter. I'm going to have to just do what's right for everyone. And I think it leads, quite well in this arc, where you have the comparison between the Gohan that wanted to fight and the Gohan that didn't. And that comparison is what creates, Gohan's character to be amazing. Because Gohan learned that he has to fight, whereas in the other one, he just fights. Well, those are my thoughts anyway. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and leave a like and maybe a subscription below.